Daniel Dubois versus Jarrell Miller. Very interesting fight. I think they were talking about maybe Derek Chisora taking on Jarrell Miller, but it seems like Dubois has come in to take that fight. And it's not that long ago where Dubois fought Usyk, but obviously when opportunities arise like this to fight on, a very stacked card out there will be in Saudi Arabia. Why not take the opportunity, especially against Jarrell Miller, who's a very talkative sort of talkative guy. And if you can get a victory over Jarrell Miller, definitely gonna, have a lot of eyes on that fight as well in terms of that sort of victory and the kind of fights you can get after beating Jarrell Miller as well. So Daniel Dubois sees the benefit in obviously taking this fight. Jarrell Miller, not someone that tends to move, quite on his feet that quickly. So maybe Daniel Dubois sees it as as an opportunity to maybe detonate one of his heavy artillery, heavy shots, and inflict some damage and hopefully beat Daniel Dubois. Not beat Daniel Dubois, beat Jarrell Miller. That's definitely what Dubois is looking to do. But that's easier said than done. Jarrell Miller, very no, he prides himself on literally being 300 pounds. That's what he does. He's a very tough man. He's durable, very strong will, and he seems. I don't know if he's gonna be at least maybe 70% or 80% of what he was. Been having that engine, throwing so many punches per round, and literally walking guys down, wearing them out with his pure size and strength. Landing the heavy shots, and then ending up stopping these guys. I don't know if he's gonna be looking the same as he's looked historically in Jarrell Miller, but if he's even 80% of what he has been in the past, it's gonna be very tough for Daniel Dubois, especially if the fight goes beyond 6 rounds into the second half of the fight, because Daniel Dubois obviously does have an advantage. He's younger, he's more athletic than Jarrell Miller, but historically Daniel Dubois has begun to slow in later rounds, and if he starts to equalize a bit in terms of the speed of the fight, Jarrell Miller has a very good chance of taking over and literally steamrolling Daniel Dubois. So it is literally a make or break fight. Jarrell Miller obviously he can't afford to get in losing by knockout to Daniel Dubois, and Dubois will want to come back with a victory here because obviously he's lost to Alexander Usyk. He lost to obviously Joe Joyce before, so every time sort of at the mo he's stepped up. He's not been able to get the victory, but I can't really criticize him for losing to Usyk, an undisputed cruiserweight champion. Usyk that's beaten Anthony Joshua himself, so I can't really I'm really gonna criticize him for losing to Usyk, and obviously losing to Joe Joyce. He was a lot more inexperienced even at the time, and people forgotten that fight was quite a while ago. I think it's like 2 years ago now. That fight was, and people forget Daniel Dubois is still young. He's not even in his 30s yet. I don't think Dubois is more than 26 or 25, so he's still very young. But it would be good for him to get a victory over Jarrell Miller here. But it's going to be very tough, especially with the strong will of Jarrell Miller to sort of overcome that. So you have to see what sort of happens. But I feel like this fight, the build up is going to be interesting, not just in terms of Jarrell Miller versus Daniel Dubois, but in terms of the whole card itself. It's going to draw a lot of eyes to the whole card. Everyone's going to want to watch especially the heavyweights, and it just makes a victory here all more crucial because you get a win here, especially in Saudi. Maybe they want to keep bringing you back. More fights are in the pipeline as well. You're rising higher in the sanctioning bodies and things in that sense, and lining yourself up for a potential shot and maybe one of the bigger names. You get a highlight reel knockout on Jarrell Miller, all of a sudden, you know, bigger fights are out there for you. You could get the rematch potentially against Joe Joyce. Zhang is out there as well. Frank Warren has obviously Zhang's beaten Joe Joyce, but can you maybe get in there, get Dubois have a shot of fighting Zhang after he's beaten Jarrell Miller, and the next thing you know, Daniel Dubois is in line for another world title shot, or at least in some people's estimations, even people been looking at him a lot more highly regarded in terms of the grand scheme of the heavyweight division. So there's a lot of ripple effects and benefits to beating Jarrell Miller. From Jarrell Miller's case, if he beats Daniel Dubois, he's got a lot of fights out there. Not necessarily because of his rankings or anything right now, but the guy talks a lot. Jarrell Miller runs his mouth. He's always talking, and promoter's dream is a talkative, bombastic fighter. You know, who knows how to talk and talk properly. And that's exactly what Jarrell Miller knows how to do. And the thing is, Jarrell Miller's not just talking for talking's sake. If you watch a lot of his interviews, you can tell he knows what he's doing when he's speaking the way he's speaking. Because at the press conference, he's talking the way he's talking about Dubois, but then in the interviews, he's obviously still saying what he's saying, but he's still sort of acknowledging that Dubois is not just some knockover job. Is someone that he's obviously going to have to take seriously, considering the fact that I think he was preparing to fight Manuel Char and not actually Daniel Dubois. But obviously, when money comes knocking at the door, Jarrell Miller opens the door and says, "Listen, I want the purse." So he's obviously going to fight Daniel Dubois. But I feel it will be interesting. You know, it how this fight goes, it really depends on what Jarrell Miller sort of looks like. If he's the guy that comes in throwing so many punches, you know, pressing guys in terms of, his body weight, and he's, maybe taking those jabs, taking those shots, and it's not really bothering him, and the fight goes a bit late, you can kind of see how Jarrell Miller can end up steamrolling Daniel Dubois. But if Daniel Dubois can, put his shots together, land those shots, and really stamp his authority and let Jarrell Miller know that, listen, I'm not here to get steamrolled by no 300-pound man, then it could become a very interesting sort of fight. So you can't put it past Daniel Dubois, and I can see at the press conference, Dubois not really phased by Jarrell Miller's talking. Some people will be like, "Oh, Dubois looks, he doesn't, he's not responding well. He's not responding well verbally to Jarrell Miller." Listen, Jarrell Miller can out talk probably anyone in the heavyweight division, but talking doesn't get you the victory in the ring. So let's see what happens, man. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Daniel Dubois taking on Jarrell Miller on December 23rd. What do you guys think? Will Dubois get the victory, or will Jarrell Miller get the victory? And where do you guys see both of these men going from here? Because it sounds like Jarrell Miller wants to have a shot at Anthony Joshua. Well, he should have took it seriously when he had the opportunity, but a lot of fans probably still do want to see him fight Anthony Joshua, and they still want that Sky gloves are off to come to be released as well. So a lot of potential big fights in the pipeline for both men if they can get the job done. So drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me see what you guys think about this one. Cool.